So recently I was at a professional development that the instructor said you can either teach or create, but you can't do both. And everyone in the room started nodding. I would like to think that I'm an example of the opposite. I'm an artist and an educator in equal parts. My artistic work focus is bringing awareness to the impact that anxiety disorders have on the human condition through my work with hyperstimulation. That is the work that's shown throughout this presentation. My educator work focus is developing and cultivating opportunities for the new creative class in Detroit. I do that through being the photography instructor at University Prep Art and Design High School, formerly known as Henry Ford Academy School for Creative Studies. So I went to CCS and I made the decision to pursue both majors, but there was a tone shift in how others saw me once I made that decision. In art education, I was often told to watch out for the subject area of my work because people wouldn't hire me if I was too controversial. In photography, I was told that getting awards in photography would be a waste on me because I was just going to be a teacher. So I made the choice to split my life in half. I pursued both basically in a vacuum, separate websites, rarely speaking about both on the same platform because I wanted to be taken seriously as both but felt that I wouldn't be accepted as either. At the same time, I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, which I kept as a secret from many people in my life as a theme in that part of my life. My symptoms are panic attacks, a right hand tremor, and visual hyperstimulation, which is the subject of my art. But as my artwork became more and more about my anxiety disorder, I was encouraged by the adults in my life to keep it a secret from school because people wouldn't take me seriously if they thought I was crazy. But the only other people I couldn't keep this a secret from was my kids because it wouldn't be safe for them not to know. And a funny thing started to happen. My room was seen as a safe space for kids with anxiety, and the kids' work started getting a lot more personal. This is an example of, at the time, a perfect idea of what I wanted it to look like. So, hyperstimulation is a visual representation of a physical stress response that happens in the 15 minutes before somebody has a panic attack. It's something that your body does in fight or flight. It's positive when you're actually in danger. It's totally negative when you think that you're always in danger, like me. And the symptoms are a lot of visual symptoms, visual snow, overlaps, blurs. This affects me as an artist because how can I do my artwork if I can't see it? But I decided to use it at my advantage. I started getting incredible opportunities to do my work, but there was gaps between my intention and what was being shown. The images were often split across galleries, and in the case of this image up here when I was in Bombay's Sapphire Artisan Series, the smallest image was chosen for a major situation. So that kind of put me in a dark place as an artist. Was my work going to be constantly shown in ways that went against the idea? And at the same time, I was having a hard time as an educator. I felt like an imposter and felt like I wasn't truly being myself. And so I talked about it with my friends and my kids, and they universally agreed that the issue was the fact that I was completely separating everything. And so while I started trying to explore making larger pieces, I also started reconfiguring my presence. So the image without 3D glasses is supposed to be visually stimulating, but taken at face value. The image with the 3D glasses, however, induces visual hyperstimulation in the viewer. It's not a true 3D, but your eye is dancing between the two versions of the image, and if you're feeling slightly overwhelmed, that is on purpose. I also am doing alternative process. This comes from the fact that photographs can easily be reproduced, but when I do a transfer onto a piece of wood like up there, you can't really reproduce it. However, there are size limitations, the size of the printer, the solution, and so I had to come up with creative ways to make my work bigger. The fusion work, I just started drilling stuff together because I was like, if they're not gonna hang them together, I'm gonna make them do it anyway. Which creates a comparison between the images and solves the issue of how they're seen, but I still wanted to go bigger than that. And these are the grid images, and these are the current focus and solution that I have. The largest one that I've done so far is a 32 by 50, which in comparison to the little baby that you saw before, that's a lot bigger. And I've gotten a lot of positive responses from that work right now. Positive things about showing this work is it creates empathy and conversation around anxiety, because as hard as this is to believe, people weren't talking as loudly about anxiety disorders previously. However, it's hard to do. I'm essentially discussing the worst part about myself constantly, publicly. But the positives outweigh the negatives. So this year, the kids, this was the first year I blatantly showed my work to the kids. So this is an example of Mecca's work. She's actually sitting right here recording. Her work is about the anxiety of traveling to a foreign country and the confusion and disassociation that happens with that. The next student's work is Devin. His work is about how depression and anxiety can bring people to a breaking point, and that stress can take you to a place where things no longer matter, and that he feels out of place and disconnected from the world. Fun fact, that's his mom in all of those pictures, to be a fly on the wall when he had to explain to her what to do. And then the following work is Sierra's work, which is about how toxic masculinity affects Black male youth, how she feels that creates how feelings are meant to be held rather than communicated, and showing emotion makes them less manly and more cowardly. So these are just a few examples of the amazing things that my kids are producing. And I'm proud to say that all of my AP kids that we did it the first time this year, they all passed the AP test. And I think that that's because my goal is not to tell them what to do, but to give them the space and tools for them to take flight on their own. And I believe that my being open about my artwork in this part of my life has given them the space to be open as well. And so in the past year, I've worked actively on combining these two sides of my life. In fact, a year ago, I would have never, ever mentioned being an educator during this talk. But going forward, I'm going to be proud of who I am, an artist and an educator, both at the same time.